and welcome back to the Tizzos Adventures. Today, we have 3 stories for you.
In light of the Powerball being almost $2 billion,
Most ever, I think.
It's pretty high. It's a lot of money. Can't help but wonder, what happens to the people that win the lottery?
Well, today, we have 3 stories for you about people who believe they were cursed when they won the lottery. Some people believe the number 13 is unlucky. 20 years after her lottery win, Rhoda Toth can confirm that these people are correct.
Rhoda and her husband Alex won Florida's $13 million jackpot on May 4th, 1990. Now, normally, winning the lottery is the best day of someone's life. But looking back, she says it's the worst.
Maybe she was right. Technically, the winning amount was $13,033,333.
And 33 cents.
The Toths chose to take an annual payment over 20 years in lieu of a lump sum payment. They both had a bad feeling when the annual payment was calculated to be $666,666.
And 66 cents.
Another unlucky number.
On a sixes. At first, however, things seemed to be going great for the newfound millionaires. Rhoda was exceedingly generous with her new wealth. She bought cars, she paid off mortgages, she helped the people in her life that she loved. She even took care of the people that she didn't even know.
She and her husband traveled the world, something they never dreamed about, living in the Newport Richie trailer park, where they had like $27 in the bank. But soon they moved out of the double-wide mobile home and into a 3,000 square foot mansion in the exclusive village of Hudson, Florida. The mansion was complete with an ocean view from the Olympic-sized swimming pool. Unfortunately, the couple stuck out like a sore thumb in this neighborhood.
During the 1990s, the Toths began making rounds on the talk show circuit, recounting their rags to riches stories. In those circles, they found themselves rubbing elbows with people like Oprah Winfrey and Donald Trump. But by the end of the decade, the good times began to evaporate.
Turns out that Alex was irresponsible with the money from the winnings. He had apparently been gambling hundreds of thousands of dollars at the casinos. Unfortunately, he wasn't a very good gambler. Apparently, math wasn't Alex's strong suit, which may be the reason why he also didn't calculate the correct amount of money they owed in taxes over the years.
Well, the IRS came to their Hudson, Florida mansion to give them a friendly reminder of a court order for an immediate payback of almost $4 million. The problem was, Toths didn't have it. Then Alex got sick, suffering from physical and a mental breakdown, which required institutional care, but their bills and debts were mounting. Rhoda turned to those friends that she had been so generous with, but says they were nowhere to be found.
Eventually, push came to shove, and the Toths made a deal with a Florida financial company that caters especially to lottery winners. In return for signing over the remaining 14 annual lottery payouts, totaling almost $9 million, the Toths received a check for a mere $3 million.
They had no choice. They said some of the $3 million went towards Alex's care and the rest went to the IRS, but it wasn't enough. In 2006, the IRS took the Toths to court to recover the tax payments that were still owed. Alex died before the trial at age 60. Rhoda was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison for tax evasion. When she was released, Rhoda had nothing. She moved back into her old trailer park in Florida, where she now wired the trailer to her car battery for power and siphoned water from the neighbor's hose.
Looking back, Rhoda cites the amount of their annual payment as a big cause for her bad luck. $666,666.
And 66 cents.
Too many sixes, Rhoda said.
Before his death, Alex said it was evil money, and maybe he was right.
Ooh. Our second story begins in early January 1993, when Suzanne Mullins walked into a convenience store in southwest Roanoke, Virginia. On a whim, she decided to buy a lottery ticket. The clerk at the counter asked her what number she wanted on the ticket. Suzanne shrugged her shoulders and said, "I don't know. Let the machine decide." Turned out her quick pick numbers were a winner.
I almost had a stroke, Suzanne told the Associated Press. She had hit the jackpot, $4.2 million. Unfortunately, she faced nothing but misery and bad luck afterwards. Perhaps Suzanne should have paid attention to the ominous omens that came when she and her husband first walked into the Virginia lottery office to collect their winnings.
After realizing they'd won, the Mullins made big plans. They dreamed of exotic vacations, seaside villas, and fancy cars. Suzanne and her husband Tommy were shocked when the Virginia lottery office handed them a check with only a few zeros. It seems Uncle Sam takes a big chunk, which lowered the take-home amount to just over $2.5 million.
The Mullins were further confused to discover that their jackpot would be cut up into 20 annual payments of just under $143,000. It's still a lot of money, but it wouldn't buy the trips and the cars that they had dreamed of.
Tommy Mullins would have to keep his job as a union rep, and Suzanne should continue to be a stay-at-home mom for their teenage daughter. As time moved along, though, Mullins lived a comfortable life. Their daughter got married in the mid-90s, and they spared no expense. But things went south after that.
Their daughter's new husband developed a medical condition that required around-the-clock care. He was uninsured, so Suzanne agreed to pay for his well-being. As the doctor bills began to pile up, Suzanne grew more bitter. The yearly checks weren't enough. The Mullins found themselves having to sell off their possessions in order to make ends meet. If only the state lottery paid out in one lump sum instead of having to wait 20 years.
Then, in 1998, with Suzanne at her lowest point, it was as if the devil himself appeared in their kitchen with a solution from the internet. Suzanne learned about a company in Florida that caters to lottery winners.
The company agreed to give Suzanne a $200,000 loan in return for signing over the next 8 of those future yearly payments. So in return for the $200,000, she agreed to give the company about $1 million of her future winnings. With no choice, Suzanne made the deal with this devil, but at least a portion of that loan money went to pay for her son-in-law's funeral.
He died in 2000, leaving his extended family with nearly $1 million in debt. Yet in the early part of the new millennium, there was finally some good luck that may have helped Suzanne win the lottery in the first place. In 2001, the Virginia State Lottery changed its rules. It allowed former lottery winners to claim the remainder of their jackpots in one lump sum. For Suzanne, that meant a check for just over $1 million. After paying off the remaining medical debt and her $200,000 loan, it was looking as if she might break even.
But a telephone call from that financial company in Florida reminded her that while she paid them back the loan amount, they still expected those yearly checks for the next 5 years. That was the deal she signed. Unable to pay, the company sued Suzanne, who used the little money she had left to hire an attorney. In 2004, her attorney told the judge that the Mullins were simply a victim of bad luck. It's been a hard road, he told the court. It's not been about jet planes to the Bahamas. The judge ordered Suzanne to repay the company its money.
By 2008, Suzanne Mullins was broke and bankrupt, one of the most unlucky lottery winners you'd ever meet. By coincidence, that same year, a man named Henry Mullins of Norfolk, Virginia, won the state's Win for Life lottery, earning him a $1,000 check every week until his dying day. Henry is of no relation, however, to Frank Mullins, who won the multi-million-dollar payout for the Virginia State Lottery in 1994, 1 year after Suzanne won.
Looking back, it was as if fate knew that it got it wrong with Suzanne Mullins and was trying to make amends for the few Virginians with the same surname. Fate could be funny that way.
Our third story introduces us to William Bud Post. William had a tough life. Orphaned at a young age, he and his siblings were split up. As a young boy, he was sent to a juvenile detention facility. Then later, as a young man, William served in the Army before he was injured. He began roaming the Northeast, picking up work wherever he could find it.
He served as a carnival worker, a short-order cook, and a circus sideshow hand. But things really began to turn for William when he met and fell in love with his wife. Together, they settled down in Pennsylvania and would go on to have a handful of children together.
By the mid-1980s, their children were grown, William looked forward to a quiet middle age with his one true love. William's wife died sadly and suddenly, though, leaving him a widower and very much alone at the age of 45. Misfortune continued when a workplace accident left William unable to make a living.
Now surviving on a government disability check, William was forced to sell his house and move into a dilapidated apartment in nearby Erie, Pennsylvania. One cold April afternoon in 1987, while walking through the city, William saw smoke rising from a 2-level apartment building.
Without thinking, William ran up the stairs to the second level and found a terrified 3-year-old boy cowering in the corner. William picked up the child and carried him down to the street, saving his life and earning the respect of the firefighters who were just arriving on scene.
Days later, the fire department presented William Post with a plaque commemorating his heroism. He became something of a neighborhood celebrity, but more importantly, the daring fire rescue seemed to spur something inside of him.
William's friends reported they grew more optimistic about his future, so they weren't really surprised when one day he went to the store and came home with $40 worth of lottery tickets. A purchase that he said left him with only $2.46 in the bank.
I just had a feeling, William told the Associated Press in 1988. I can't explain it. I get feelings like premonitions. William's premonition paid off on February 26, 1988, when he learned that one of the tickets he had bought had won him a whopping $16.1 million in the Pennsylvania Super 7 lottery.
The payout from the jackpot was due to come out in yearly payments of about $500,000 a year over the next 25 years. William assumed that $500,000 was enough to live the high life on. Unfortunately, William didn't have a premonition about how wrong he could be.
William went shopping. Television sets, motorcycles, cars, trucks, small engine airplanes, and even a yacht in Tennessee. But a few bad investments followed, and then came the lawsuit. William's landlord at the time of his big win, and the person who accompanied him to collect his first check in the lottery offices, she felt cheated.
She claimed that of the $40 William used to buy the tickets, 20 of them came from her, and that entitled her to half the winnings. William's lawyer told her she didn't have a hope in hell of getting a payment, but the judge disagreed. Judge ordered that William's future annual payments be held in a bank account until a jury could sort out the case.
3 years went by, and the bills for those purchases and investments came due. With no money coming in to pay him off, William was in bad shape. I faced the loss of everything, he told the paper. Later, I faced starvation.
One bill collector surprised William by approaching the house unannounced. William fired a shotgun into the air to scare him off. The police were notified and a complaint was taken. Also, William's little brother Jeff had grown bitter that William was frittering away his good fortune. Convinced that he'd do a better job at being a millionaire, Jeff convinced his brother to change the will and give Jeff a large chunk of the winnings in the event of William's death.
Then, Jeff hired a hitman to get the ball rolling on William's death. Fortunately for William, the hitman was actually an undercover Florida cop. William's new wife claimed she was terrified by the prospect of being targeted for murder. She walked out on William, then sued him for alimony. The judgment came down that perhaps confirmed William's suspicion that the money was cursed.
A Pennsylvania court later decided that the landlady was actually entitled to half of William's jackpot. He was ordered to sign over $4.1 million to her, and also $1 million to her lawyers. After taxes, William was left with $4.7 million. Rather than accepting $250,000 every year until 2014, William decided he wanted to be done with the whole lottery nightmare.
He sold the rights to his future payouts to a lottery finance company, pocketing just over $1 million in cash. William then sold off his vehicles and luxury items to help him pay off his debt, but he refused to get rid of his yacht. He said he had hoped to start over by opening a fishing charter business where his boat was docked in Tennessee. And that's where the police found him after a judge put on a warrant for his arrest in 1998.
That bill collector? Well, he wanted William charged with attempted murder for that shotgun warning. As William spent months in jail after a jury had found him guilty of aggravated assault, William looked back on his life and realized something. I was happier before I won the money, told a reporter. William died in 2006 at the age of 66. At that time, he was living in a small 2-bedroom apartment on his meager $400 a week disability check.
We hope you enjoyed this video.
We really, really do.
If you haven't done so already, please subscribe now. And hey,
Thanks for watching.